You can call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Jean Matsumoto takes on Rob Font this Saturday on the main card of UFC Fight Night Seattle, Washington. And this fight was put together kind of short notice. Rob Font was supposed to be taking on Dominic Cruz as he returned to the UFC, but Dominic Cruz had some type of injury, I believe, and just ended up retiring from the sport. So that's unfortunate. So Jean Matsumoto, he was supposed to be fighting Chris Gutierrez March 8th, I believe it was. So they're bringing him in a few weeks early to fill in to fight Rob Font. The fight's going to be at 140 pounds at catch weight. So good fight. Rob Font, another crafty veteran taking on a young up-and-comer, kind of becoming a theme on this card. But Jean Matsumoto, undefeated, 16-0, 25 years old, 5'6", 68.5-inch reach. Very good striker, very powerful punches. Got a chin on him, will stand in the pocket and trade with anyone. Had a very entertaining fight in his last outing against Brad Katona, where they just kind of were going to war. Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai black belt. He's been doing martial arts since he was like 6 years old. So very well-rounded guy, obviously. 16-0. A lot of good wins in his career, not fighting absolute cans like we see a lot of these guys coming out of Brazil with really good records. So excited to see him back in the UFC. This will be his third fight taking on Rob Font, so big opportunity for him. I mean, his fight on March 8th against Chris Gutierrez is a big fight for him. So they seem to see a lot of talent in this guy, given the caliber of opponents that they're lining him up against. So Rob Font. No introduction for Rob Font. Dude's been in the UFC for a long time. Super tough guy, fighting out of the New England cartel up there with like Calvin Kattar and that team. Had a kind of a 50-50 career in the UFC. Started off with kind of a bang, knocking out a lot of guys. Very good wins. But you look at his record, he's not losing to schmucks. He's only losing to elite guys. John Lineker, Pedro Munoz, Rafael Assunção, Jose Aldo, Marlon Vera, Corey Sandhagen, Davison Figueiredo. So only losing to the cream of the crop, former champions, former title challengers. So be curious to see how he stacks up against Jean Matsumoto. It'll really tell us a lot about kind of the potential of Matsumoto, depending on how this fight goes. But Rob Font, he is 37 years old, so kind of on the other edge of his prime. Did just have a really good performance against Kyler Phillips, kind of fraud checked him in his last performance back in October. So only a few month break coming back into the UFC. Same with Jean Matsumoto. They both fought back in October. So glad to see these guys being active, especially Jean Matsumoto. Sometimes you can be a little too active as a young guy, but Rob Font doesn't have much time left, so he better keep getting back in there, especially when he's not taking tons of damage like he did in his last fight. But Rob Font, primarily a boxer, leaves some openings on the feet, but doesn't really throw kicks, doesn't really do anything other than throw the hands. And you kind of see that with the guys. The same with Calvin Kattar. The guys are just primarily using boxing. Kind of makes it easy to game plan against them, because you really, they got a left and a right coming your way, and that's about it. So I got to go with Jean Matsumoto in this one. He's just the more dynamic striker. Throws really good kicks, very explosive, very fast, still has a really good chin. Beating guys like Brad Katona, who's no slouch. Was able to deal with Dan Argueta's wrestling, get the guillotine choke. So showing it really, showing very solid, well-rounded skills, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think he'll throw kicks against Rob Font. Be able to take his punches, his boxing, and deal with that fairly easily. Has the jiu-jitsu advantage if he needs to lean on that. Rob Font's been taken down before, but I think Jean Matsumoto, he'll be able to hold his own on the feet against somebody like Rob Font, who's really kind of just one-dimensional, like I said. So Font doesn't have a lot of momentum coming off of one win, but Jean Matsumoto's got 16 fights, 16-0, a lot of finishes. He's got all kinds of chokes, KOs, so just a lot more versatile skill set than Rob Font. So I got to go with the young, undefeated guy coming out of Brazil. Fights out of Inside Muay Thai, not the most well-known gym, but the proof is in the pudding. And dude's really good. Has a lot of potential, I think, in the UFC, and I just think Rob Font's kind of. I think again, this is the UFC kind of teeing Jean Matsumoto up for a big high-profile win against an old grizzled veteran like Rob Font. Rob Font, the odds here, plus 130 for Rob Font. That's crazy. That's I would think they would have been much bigger than that. Minus 175 for Jean Matsumoto. So not terribly in Jean Matsumoto's favorite. I thought it'd be a wider gap than that, but I do think he gets this one done. I'm not sure if he can finish somebody like Rob Font. If he wasn't able to finish Brad Katona and Dan Argueta or Casey Tanner, whoever that is, by strikes, I don't think he's going to knock out Rob Font. He could get the submission, but I feel like Jean Matsumoto's going to want to prove a point on the feet. I don't really see him shooting. I haven't really seen him shoot in the past. His fight with Dan Argueta, where he did get the submission, was because he was, constantly having to defend takedowns, and it went to the ground, not by his choosing. So, how did that fight go? Yeah, I think he just was defending takedowns and got the guillotine and put him to sleep at the end of that round, is the way that I remember it. So I'm going to go Jean Matsumoto, win this one by decision. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks.